And just when the public thought the mystery could not grow any deeper, new fragments of information began to surface, quietly, almost cautiously, like pieces of a puzzle that refused to be ignored. The question was no longer just what happened that night, but rather who wanted this to be seen, and who didn't. Because in an era where privacy for global superstars is nearly impossible, moments like this rarely exist without intention. The timeline itself began to draw attention. According to several fan accounts tracking movements of Kim Taeyoung and Jungkook, both had unusually quiet schedules leading up to the alleged encounter. No official appearances, no live broadcasts, no public hints, just a sudden disappearance from the usual digital radar that fans had grown accustomed to monitoring with almost forensic precision. And then out of nowhere this clip appeared. Was it a coincidence? Or a carefully timed silence? Industry insiders have long suggested that strategic invisibility is sometimes more powerful than constant exposure. In fact, within high-level entertainment management, there is a theory that absence, when executed correctly, can amplify impact far beyond traditional promotion. If that is the case, then what unfolded at the suspected Hard Rock Cafe location might not have been an accident at all, but a calculated spark designed to ignite curiosity across multiple audiences at once. And yet, there was something else that didn't quite align with the typical promotional setup. Jimmy Fallon is known for his energetic, highly visible approach to celebrity collaborations. His work on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon thrives on anticipation, teasers, and public engagement. He rarely operates in total secrecy when it comes to major appearances. Even surprise segments are usually accompanied by subtle hints, social media buildup, or controlled leaks designed to steer the narrative. But this felt different. There were no teasers, no cryptic posts, no indirect acknowledgements, just silence. And in that silence, speculation grew louder. Some observers began to question whether this meeting was even related to television at all. What if it wasn't about a show? What if it wasn't about entertainment in the traditional sense? What if the setting, the timing, and the secrecy all pointed towards something far less expected? The idea may sound extreme, but in an industry that has increasingly blurred the lines between media, business, and global branding, such possibilities cannot be dismissed entirely. BTS as a global phenomenon operates far beyond music alone. Their influence spans culture, economics, and even diplomacy. And Jimmy Fallon, as a major figure in American media, holds a unique position that intersects entertainment with mainstream public discourse. Could this have been a meeting of interests rather than a simple collaboration? Adding another layer to the mystery, several users claimed that the vehicle seen in the footage did not match the standard transportation typically arranged for high-profile celebrities. While this detail remains unverified, it fueled theories that the meeting was intentionally kept off the grid, away from official channels, away from recognizable patterns, away from anything that could easily be traced. But then comes the most unsettling question of all. If this was meant to remain hidden, how did it get out? Was the recording truly accidental? A passerby capturing a random moment? Or was it something else entirely? Something staged just enough to feel authentic, yet controlled enough to avoid revealing too much? In digital culture, the line between reality and constructed narrative has become increasingly thin. A single clip, especially one lacking context, can be interpreted in countless ways. And when the subjects involved are as influential as Taeyoung, Jungkook, and Jimmy Fallon, those interpretations multiply exponentially. Emotion began to take over logic. Fans revisited old interviews searching for clues. Past interactions between BTS and Fallon were reanalyzed frame by frame. Even casual comments made months or years ago suddenly felt significant, as if they were pieces of a long-hidden script only now beginning to reveal itself. One particular moment resurfaced, drawing renewed attention. A past episode of The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon where Fallon jokingly hinted at future surprises involving BTS that he couldn't talk about yet. At the time, it was dismissed as lighthearted banter. Now it was being reinterpreted as a potential clue. Was that joke not a joke at all? As the hours turned into days, The absence of official clarification became its own form of statement. In media theory, silence can function as a powerful communicative tool. It allows narratives to evolve organically, shaped by audience interpretation rather than controlled messaging. And in this case, that evolution was intense. The story was no longer confined to what was seen in the video. It had become something larger, something shaped by imagination, expectation, and the deep emotional connection fans feel toward the artists they admire. But beneath all the theories, all the speculation, all the emotional reactions, there remained a simple, almost haunting image. 3 figures standing in a dimly lit space, speaking quietly, moving carefully, as if aware that even the smallest detail could matter. And then, just when the tension seemed to plateau, when the conversation risked fading into yet another unresolved internet mystery, something unexpected happened. A second angle of the same night surfaced. Not clearer, not longer, but somehow more revealing. This time, the footage didn't focus directly on Jimmy Fallon, or the 2 figures believed to be Kim Taeyoung and Jungkook. Instead, it captured the surrounding environment, the subtle movements of staff, the positioning of vehicles, the almost imperceptible gestures exchanged between individuals who appeared to be coordinating something far more structured than a casual meetup. And suddenly the narrative shifted, because what initially looked like a spontaneous, low-profile encounter now began to resemble something else entirely, an operation. Not in the dramatic conspiratorial sense, but in the logistical, carefully managed way that high-stakes interactions are often handled behind the scenes in global entertainment. There were patterns, timing that felt too precise, movements that seemed rehearsed. Even the spacing between individuals hinted at an awareness of visibility, who could be seen from where and for how long. If this was accidental, it was an extraordinarily organized accident. And that realization raised an even sharper question. Was the secrecy meant to protect the meeting, or to protect what comes after it? Because in the world of artists operating at the level of BTS, decisions are rarely isolated. One meeting can ripple outward, influencing schedules, collaborations, and even long-term strategic direction. Every appearance, every absence, every interaction carries weight. Not just for fans, but for an entire ecosystem built around global attention. What made this situation particularly unusual, however, was the emotional tone embedded within the limited footage. Observers began to notice something subtle yet undeniable: the body language. Taeyoung, if it was indeed him, appeared composed but unusually reserved. Jungkook, often expressive even in candid moments, seemed more restrained, his movements deliberate, his posture slightly guarded. And Jimmy Fallon, known for his animated demeanor, carried himself with a calmness that bordered on seriousness. It wasn't tense, but it wasn't light either. It felt important, and importance in this context suggests intention. Speculation began to evolve again, this time moving beyond surface-level theories of secret shows or surprise appearances. Some started to consider the possibility that this meeting marked a transitional moment, something tied not just to content creation but to timing, to phases, to change. Because if there is one constant in the careers of global artists, it is transformation. Could this have been a conversation about what comes next? The idea resonated with many, especially given the timing. The global spotlight on BTS has shifted in recent years, with members exploring individual paths while maintaining their collective identity. Each move, each decision, carries amplified significance because it contributes to a larger narrative, one that fans follow with both excitement and emotional investment. And within that narrative, moments like this don't happen randomly. They happen at crossroads. Adding to the intrigue, a subtle detail from the second clip began to circulate among more observant viewers. In the background, barely visible, almost blurred, there appeared to be equipment. Not full-scale production gear, but something smaller. Portable. Possibly audio-related. This detail, though unconfirmed, sparked a new wave of theories. What if this wasn't about filming at all? What if it was about recording something, or preparing for something that required discretion? Because in modern entertainment, not all projects are meant to be seen immediately. Some are built in silence, away from public scrutiny, only to emerge later with full force. And when they do, their impact is often magnified precisely because of that initial secrecy. Still, without confirmation, everything remains suspended between possibility and assumption. And yet, the silence from official channels continued. No statements, no denials, no acknowledgements. For some, this silence was frustrating. For others, it was thrilling. Because silence leaves space. Space for interpretation. Space for imagination. Space for connection. Fans began to fill that space in deeply personal ways. Some viewed the meeting as a sign of something positive. A new collaboration, a creative breakthrough, a moment of alignment between influential figures. Others approached it with caution, sensing that the emotional undertones hinted at something more complex, perhaps even something difficult. But regardless of interpretation, one thing became increasingly clear. This moment had struck a chord. Not because of what was fully known, but because of what wasn't. And that is where its power lies. Because in a world saturated with content, where nearly everything is documented, explained, and analyzed in real time, true mystery has become rare. And when it appears, when something resists immediate understanding, it captures attention in a way that few things can. This was no longer just about a video. It was about a feeling. A sense that something significant had occurred just out of reach of full comprehension. A moment glimpsed but not fully revealed. A story begun but not yet told. And perhaps that is exactly how it was meant to be. Because if there is a strategy at play here, if this was indeed orchestrated, whether partially or entirely, then the current state of uncertainty is not a flaw. It is the design. A slow unraveling. A controlled ambiguity. A narrative that invites the audience not just to observe, but to participate, to question, to analyze, to feel. And in doing so, it achieves something far more enduring than a simple announcement ever could. It becomes an experience. And as the days stretched on, the story refused to fade. Instead, it deepened, evolving into something that felt less like a rumor and more like a slow-burning revelation waiting for its moment to fully ignite. Because then came the detail that changed everything. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, almost hidden within the noise of speculation. One small observation began to circulate among the most attentive viewers. It wasn't about what Jimmy Fallon said, or how Kim Taeyoung and Jungkook moved. It was about where they looked. In one fleeting moment, barely lasting more than a second, Taeyoung appeared to glance, not at Fallon, not at Jungkook, but slightly past them, towards something just outside the visible frame. It wasn't a dramatic turn of the head. It wasn't even obvious unless the clip was slowed down repeatedly. But once noticed, it became impossible to ignore. As that glance didn't feel random, felt aware. And awareness implies presence. Not just the presence of people, but the presence of something else. Something unseen. Something that, until that moment, no one had considered seriously. Another camera? Another person? Or something even more deliberate? The implication sent a ripple through the already restless discussion. If there was another angle, another observer, then the clip that had gone viral might not be the only record of that night. And if that was true, then what the public had seen so far might only be a fragment, carefully incomplete. Because here is the unsettling possibility that began to take shape. What if the footage wasn't leaked but released? Not officially, not directly, but indirectly, through channels that allow plausible deniability while still achieving maximum reach. In media strategy, this approach is not unheard of. Controlled ambiguity can generate engagement far beyond what traditional announcements achieve. It creates a self-sustaining cycle of curiosity, where the audience becomes both consumer and investigator. And in this case, the audience had gone far beyond passive observation. They were dissecting, reconstructing, theorizing,